Hey guys, Jamie with Unleashed Omaha. We do a little drill here that we call feeding the chickens. So for dogs that have resource guarding issues, whether it's toys or food or whatever the case is, this is a really great drill that you can start doing to start showing your dog how to be comfortable around other dogs. The reason that a lot of dogs do resource guarding is because they feel that the other dog is going to steal their food. It's going to steal their toy. It's going to take it away from them. They start getting possessive because they don't think that the dog is there. So sometimes this dog will spark up and start getting aggressive at 5, 10, 15 feet and tell that dog basically, you are not welcome here, you're not taking my food, and that's not how it's going to be. So in the beginning of this, what I will do is typically, if I'm by myself and I don't have a helper, I will back tie the dog to a range that I know my dog cannot strike. Okay, so I'll back tie them to either a pole or a fence. Make sure you check your equipment when you do this, okay? It's very, very important that you're not using something like a flat buckle collar, okay? If you're using this kind of work or this kind of equipment when you have an aggressive dog, if that equipment comes undone, or you have a faulty leash, or you have crappy equipment, and that dog breaks through the leash and bites the hell out of another dog, you have just rehearsed one more repetition of that dog resource guarding. So use a good, solid, half-inch leather leash. Make sure it's a good leather leash, good quality leash. Make sure you have a nice leather or biothane collar. Make sure that collar is on there tight, okay? Make sure that dog is not just going to slip that collar to go get that bite for the resource guarding, okay? So what I will do is called feeding the chickens, okay? For mealtime and things like that. Now, a lot of the times, resource guarders, it's really easy for them because all their food is in bowls. It's in a nice, tight, compact location where they can easily guard it. So when a dog approaches their food bowl, they go on the aggressive side, or even it can be a human too. Sometimes you'll see drills where a dog will get aggressive with a human hand or a child hand. We cannot have that. We cannot have a dog that's being aggressive toward their food bowl or being pushy or a water bowl or toys or anything. You need to show that dog they need to be calm. So the feeding the chickens drill is really great because it's really difficult for that dog to resource guard when there's a bunch of food out on the ground. So what I'll do is I'll have my handful of food, right? I'll toss it out. I'll have just a ton of food. How the hell is this dog going to resource guard all this food when there's so much of it around? But we're also, at the same time, we're giving this dog opportunities to rehearse good behavior. Okay, the dog gets to search for food, okay? We've got Olaf here, he likes food too. Chester's all geared up, he's hungry, okay? And we say, yes, okay, find it. Search, come on, Olaf, go ahead. We have multiple dogs feeding around, but you always want to have your dog that's the aggressive dog either back tied to a range, and you have your other dogs on leash so they don't get inside that range. Okay, we're just trying to make this dog comfortable around eating around other dogs, okay? Eating around other dogs. And so you might see a bit of aggression in the beginning, but they're not in range to rehearse that behavior over and over and over again. So we might have to make a nice big 10-foot circle where maybe the dogs at first are 10 feet away eating food off the ground with that other aggressive dog eating food off the ground as well. And we're just simply practicing being comfortable around other dogs, eating our food, things like that. We're just practicing good behavior. We go out, we get food, we don't attack dogs, this dog's eating, this dog's eating. They're using their sniffers, so they get to do a little bit of hunting for their food. Sometimes you can even do this, like if you want to have like a super fast eater, stop putting your food in bowls, because you're giving that dog the opportunity to rehearse eating super fast. You're putting all their food in one tiny bowl where they can just inhale it. Well, the problem with that is they're inhaling the food, but they're also self-rewarding because they're feeding and they're going, this is how I eat. Gone. Food's gone, and they just inhale it. So if you have a super fast eater going out, take their food for the day and spread it in like a 5-foot circle out in your grass. Make your dog hunt for their food and make that dog slow down. So Nico, I did a drill this morning. Nico is a super fast eater, but that's because my mistakes as an owner, I've gone through and I have just given her bowl after bowl after bowl after bowl after bowl after bowl after bowl. So I have probably rehearsed feeding her at a super high, super fast rate. You know, I've had her for 8 years, 365 meals a year. So do the math, you know. That's probably close to 400 meals a year for 8 years. 3,200 rehearsals of eating fast. Pretty stupid on my part. So going through and taking the opportunity to show her how to be rewarded with a slower paced eating. I spread all of her food out, or I'll take a big handful, I'll let her know I have food, and I'll just throw all that food out into the grass, and I'll make her search for it. You want to eat? You got to hunt. You got to hunt for that food, and you let them know it's dinner time. They sit for you, wait for their food, you spread all their food out. You can start by making it really easy by putting it on your driveway, putting it in like a little 8 to 10 foot circle, you know, or 4-foot circle once they start getting better at it, and just teaching that dog, slow down. If your dog's like still just hammering down, just block your dog with the leash. Slow them down a little bit. Show them that the only way they're going to be eating their food is when they slow down to eat it. You don't want this dog who's just gone, okay? If they are inhaling that food, they're also at the same time repeating and they're reinforcing that super fast eating because they're allowed to hammer down on that food in their bowl. My dog, I mean Nico, she'll finish 5.5 cups, I'm not kidding you, in less than 90 seconds. Gone, okay? So if we want to start working with our dogs on relaxing around other dogs and things like that, okay. So we've been just practicing not eating food that's on the ground while we're in command. So he did a really great job there. He waited, and he waited to hear okay to start eating his food on the ground, which is what we want. If our dog sees food on the ground or is offered food, we want our dog to look to us for that next action, that next step. No, you may not just eat food off the ground whenever the heck you want. You have to have permission. Now, if I have a dog, I drop an egg on the floor in my kitchen, and I don't really feel like cleaning it up, guess what? I got a dog. It's a great opportunity to just have my dog clean that up, throw a little 409 on it. The dog gets an egg, I have a clean floor, good to go. But I have to also teach that dog that you don't just get to eat whenever you want. So I'll also do drills to where I'll set them up once we've gone through the steps of leave it and I start working out of sight. I'll go through the steps to where I'll put, you know, maybe I'll put a box of food outside once or twice a month, and I will tempt them to eat the food. If they eat the food, I give them stim on the electric collar. You are not supposed to eat food that is just on the ground after we've gone, but this is, I mean, that is the late stages of training. That's after I've taken the time to show them myself while I'm in sight, don't eat stuff on the ground. I've taken the opportunity to work from further distances. I have my dog 15-20 feet and I walk them toward a food source. I've worked on leave it, and then I've also brought in a helper to entice my dog to take food from them, really entice my dog. Then I work at a further distance from my dog, really entice them with a stranger trying to offer them food. Eventually I move out of sight with a long line going around a corner, and that's why it's really nice to have a helper that knows what you're asking for and the rules of the game. If the dog goes to eat the food, we shut off access. We repeat it until the dog is successful in not taking food from the stranger, and then eventually we add a little bit of leash pressure and punishment. And punishment is, again, punishment is not a big prong collar or e-collar correction. Punishment is, by definition, something that you add or take away from the work that decreases the likelihood of them repeating behavior. That is the definition of punishment. So, I am doing something that decreases the likelihood of my dog taking food from a stranger by shutting it off. Now in the later stages, I don't let that person shut it off, and I do administer correction with a pinch collar or e-collar after multiple repetitions of success. Okay? But that's after my dog has shown me that they understand the drill. Okay? You don't take food from strangers, period. Ever. Whether I'm 2 feet away from you, 10 feet away from you, out of sight, in sight, it doesn't matter. Don't take food from strangers. And then I really get it to where, I'm having people wave food in front of my dog's face, and I expect that dog to turn away from the food. And eventually, I work it out of sight with electronic collar. And then once a month or so, every other week for a few months, I'll go out and I'll put hot dogs and chicken and leftovers and things out on my sidewalk, or I'll put it in areas that I walk my dog. I'll go on a walk with my dog, I'll have food on me, and on my walk I'll drop pieces of chicken, pieces of hot dogs, pieces of cheese, dog kibble, whatever. On my walk, I'll get halfway into my walk and I'll retrace my steps and allow that dog opportunity to try and pick up the food. If they pick up the food, well, then I have to continue working on letting them know leave it. In the beginning, I tell them leave it, and once they have shown me they understand what leave it means, then I stop cueing them so much. I have to fade my command. I don't want to have to tell my dog leave it every single time. I want my dog to eventually smell the food and walk away, because they know that they're never going to get that. And they know that also if they leave it alone, I give them a reward of food. Eventually I just, start fading my rewards, going to a variable schedule, then a random schedule, and then I overlay punishment into the work. And every once in a while I'll set my dog up. I'll place food out in the yard, whatever. If it is not training time, if it is not feeding time, and you run into food, leave it alone. Do not take food from strangers. Do not take food. You want to poison proof that dog? Then put in the steps and the time that you need to for that dog to understand that they are not to take food from anyone. So the feeding chickens drill is a really great drill for, come on Ola, really great drill for those dogs who have food aggression, because you have so much food spread out in a nice 10-foot circle. They're rehearsing eating around other dogs. They're relieving stress. They're realizing, hey, I don't have to worry about other dogs when I'm eating my food. And slowly you shrink that circle. Eventually you can train, for some dogs who have really, really bad food aggression, train them the other option of maybe they have to leave the area when there's other dogs. But most of the time, by rehearsing the feeding chickens drill, the dog starts to not stress out. They don't show that inhibited stress. They don't inhibit signs of stress, exhibit signs of stress around other dogs. And we show the dog that there's nothing to be worried about. You're gonna get your food. You don't have to protect it. Same thing with toys. Same thing with food and toys around people. It's a really great drill for resource guarding. So feed the chickens, teach your dog what's up, proof your dog on food, have fun with your dog, make dog training fun. You guys have an awesome day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.